Welcome to all of you on this very special show. I'm Tamanna Inamdar, and at the outset, I want to wish all of our viewers a very, very happy Independence Day. Now, we're going to look at an interesting theme on the concept of freedom, on the concept of independence from the point of view of 50% of our population, from the point of view of women. What does it mean to be free? And one of the key ways that women today can really feel free is through financial independence. That's going to be the thrust of our conversation today. Think of it in this way. We are no longer in the time and age where a woman's future depends on how well-to-do her father is or how well-to-do her husband is. She is independent, she is free, she takes her own decisions. But the fact is that this is still just an aspiration for many of Indian women. Look at some data. 79% of women have bank or saving accounts in their names. About 18% independently make financial decisions. That's only 18%. While over 50% have money they can decide how to use. The upward trend in women's labor force participation in recent years is going at a very slow pace. And that also shows you that there is still some roadblock to financial independence. According to an Tamanna Inamdar report, women executives earn 85 rupees for every 100 rupees earned by their male counterparts. So the gender pay gap, which is a global phenomenon, is seen very much in India as well. What we're looking today is how can women achieve true independence? And is it truly linked? Is it really linked to their financial independence? Why is this important from a cultural point of view as well? To speak on some of these issues, I'm joined today by Kitika Ganjudhar. She's an anchor, actor and author. Karuna Nundy, advocate Supreme Court, is with me on the show. Devina Mehra, founder First Global Group, is joining us, as is Mitali Nikore, founder of Nikore Associates. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us. A very happy Independence Day to all of you as well. Devina Mehra, let me begin with you on the sort of theme that we have picked. And we wanted to talk about freedom and independence as India turns 77 from many aspects. For women, does that freedom still truly come if you're financially free?
Happy Independence Day to you, Tamanna, and to the viewers also. And I would say that being financially free is definitely a necessary condition to be free. It may not be a sufficient condition, but without being financially independent, you cannot be truly free and independent in your lives. And one part, of course, is that earning, which you spoke about, and female labor participation in India is pathetically low. In fact, it is about the lowest in the world. We have only a few Arab countries below us. Even every other country in the subcontinent is ahead of us. So it's as bad as that. So that is one aspect. But the other aspect is that even women who earn don't take their own financial decisions. You can look around you. I see, let's say, my classmates who might be doing professionally very well. They might be senior civil servants or scientists or doctors or something like that. But they are still not managing their own finances. Too many Indian women leave the financial decisions primarily to the men in the house, which is fathers, husbands, brothers, etc. And while there are many reasons why they do that, I mean, two just I would like to highlight. One, of course, women think they don't know enough, and conversely, they think the men in their lives know a lot about investing, which may not be the truth at all. And the other thing is that women have too many things on their plate. So women working outside the home are managing work, they're managing home, they're managing family, children, in-laws, 1,000 things. And this is one thing the spouse is happy to take care of. So they say, okay, one thing off my plate, and let him take care of it, which is actually a very dangerous thing to do. So I would say, please, to be truly independent, take charge of your finances. So important. It's a cause for me, which is why I'm here.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Which is why we have you on the panel, Devina, Mitali, as well, just to sort of get a perspective of how crucial this is and how women can change and improve their financial independence. Gitika, we often see that just being an earning member of the family is not enough. Even today, a lot of women believe that their earnings are not just theirs, that their family has first right.
A lot of women would be an understatement. I think 90% of the population, female population in India, seems like that is what they believe. I was just before this session began, I was reading up on the subject, and I read how the Center for Economic Development in India actually says that only 10% of women in India are a part of the workforce, which means that's about 36 million women. That's rest of the women out there not working with no financial independence of their own earning. Well, I for one have always earned my own money. I have always ensured that it is in my name. I've always ensured that I've invested it the way I wanted to. I've given the same advice to all my friends, my colleagues, and even the women who work for me, with me as my staff. So this is not a change really that is going to happen overnight, though we're already, so many years independent as a country. I think it's the social setup in India that is largely at fault, and it's also the mindset that women in India have been brought up with generation after generation. I don't see this changing for many, many decades ahead, but as I always say, it's one step at a time, one woman at a time, that will help change this paradigm.
The idea today is to focus also on tools that women can use to become financially independent, and also the mindset. Karuna Nundy, times have changed in terms of even families when they're looking for brides. They want a working woman because things are expensive. They want the additional income in the family. But do you think that there is enough of a culture to explain to young women, to girls, that when they start earning their money, it's important for them to keep it for themselves, it's important for them to earn even if their husbands are doing well?
There are people well equipped on this panel to speak about how women should make money and ways in which women can be financially independent, have joint accounts. But I will also say this, that the women who are not working are also working. They're working at home. They're raising children. They are running households. And there was a bill that was spoken of by the UPA to allocate money to homemakers from the household funds. And this makes eminent sense to me. I think that when people marry others, they marry people of equivalent value. Half the income actually should be transferred to the account of the partner, and then they should both contribute to the running of the family, and because they are both bringing equivalent value to the table, so as to enable the one of the partners to go out and work. And of course, this should also work if in the very, very rare examples where the woman is working and the man is keeping house.
Karuna Nundy spoke about things like joint accounts, and at the end of the day, the brass tacks comes down to money. Fortunately or unfortunately, freedom and the ability to walk out of a bad situation or to have that kind of respect in the household also comes with the financial stability that the woman has. Mithali Nikore, I'm coming to you on this. Do you think that people should think very, very carefully about financial matters before they get into marriages, before they get into partnerships?
So first of all, thanks Tamanna for having me on the show, and a big hello to all the fellow women warriors on this. I think the first thing I want to do is just set some of the statistics right. India experienced a declining female labor force participation from 1947-48, that is from our British independence, until 2017-18, continuous decline. 2017-18 was the lowest at 23% in terms of the working age population. And in the last 5 years, there has been an increase, and we're currently standing at 33%. However, this increase in female labor force participation is entirely driven by women being recognized as workers if they work as unpaid workers in agricultural enterprises. So, I mean, the entire point of financial freedom, etc., is defeated even when we look at this, marginal increase that has happened in the last 5 years. The second thing is we have to realize who are these two groups of women who are actually working in our economy. The first group is graduate and postgraduate women in urban areas who are working in the services sector. This is one of the biggest groups of women workers. This is about a quarter of women workers in the country. And the remaining three quarters is actually made up by either agricultural wage laborers in rural areas or domestic workers, construction workers who are all working in casual work, right? So when we are talking about financial independence of working women or women in general, we're essentially addressing these two groups. This group which is doing really well actually in the services urban sector, who have the privilege of gaining an education, and the others who are of course struggling with a daily wage. Now, the one thing that's common for these two groups is the fear of managing their own money. And Tamanna, here I'm coming to your question. Because in all cases, whether you are this woman, in the corporate sector, highly educated, or you are a woman who's just earning her daily wage, in both cases, you're doing it for your family and you're coming and giving your money back to either your husband or your siblings or your parents. And in very, very few cases do we see women actually managing their own money. And also having these conversations with your partner, as you rightly said, of course, is a purview, is more likely for this, privileged urban group of women, as opposed to the women who are working in the fields, which is the much larger proportion of working women.
A very simple question to you, Mitali. Do you think the joint account is a good idea or a bad idea?
No, I think it depends on the situation, Tamanna. In many cases, I've heard of women who are, in divorce cases, just fighting for the resources that are held in a joint account. And in other cases, the joint account helps a lot where, these relationships are successful. So in both cases, I think it becomes very necessary to have those checks and balances when you are opening a joint account with somebody. And of course, I mean, as a working woman myself, I maintain a joint account with my husband, but I also have my own assets which are independently in my name.
Let's come down to the brass tacks. And I'm hoping, the reason we wanted to do this program is that we're seriously hoping maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people watching this may make different decisions depending on what stage of their life is. Maybe there is a young woman out of college watching this. Maybe there's someone about to get married watching this and could benefit from the advice that all of you give them. What are the things to keep in mind and should be very, very clear when you're embarking on your own adult journey as a woman when it comes to financial freedom? That question for Devina Mehra.
So 2 or 3 things. One, as I said, that don't think that the men in your family know a lot about investment. So I always say confidence does not equal competence. And this holds for all areas of life. It holds for when you're recruiting people. Somebody might say, I'm really good at this, and they won't turn out to be that good at it. So the studies also show the same thing, that if men and women are investing in the markets, the results are better for women, but the men are more confident. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And if you genuinely don't understand things, now the resources are available everywhere. There are, books, there are articles, there are videos, there are even formal courses which are free or nearly free from universities if you want to understand the basics. So it's very easy depending on however you want to learn. So learn. Don't say that I don't know this and I'll never know this and I'm not good with numbers and all those kind of statements. Don't make to yourself.
Geetika, I want you to come in, on this aspect of where the change can really start from. And does it at the end of the day become the responsibility of families to inculcate that idea in their children, in their daughters, that you have to be financially independent no matter what happens next?
So, I always say leave the choice on the woman, on the girl. It's a very complex structure, the way society is structured, not just in India but across the world. Now, for example, why in a village is a young girl told that, okay, you don't need to go to school, चौथी पांचवी पढ़ ली काफ़ी है, you stay at home, you wash the utensils, you cook for your brothers who go to school and come back, give your father a meal when I'm in the fields, okay? Whereas girls like me, we were sent to school, we were educated and we worked. But both of us, when we grew up and we got married, and both of us started our married lives, the responsibilities were the same for both of us. It's just that for the women who were educated and who wanted careers and who wanted to be financially independent, the load was double. So people like me, we were also working, we were also fulfilling our professional aspirations, but we were also fulfilling what society says are domestic responsibilities, and it is such a burden to handle both of these responsibilities and still have some time left for yourself. So I think the structure of how society is built is essentially, it's very complex. One can't say it's wrong or right because I don't know what the correct answer is. Who will nurture the children that are given birth to? Who will nurture the elders who are at home? So this has to be a decision that the couple has to take, split the responsibilities, let both of the couple, the members in the marriage work, or maybe one doesn't want to work, the man doesn't want to work, the woman doesn't want to work. The social structure has to be addressed, really, Tamanna, I feel, and then comes the fact that women will get educated, then comes the fact that they'll be able to work, then comes the fact that they'll be able to invest. हम मूल बात ही कर नहीं रहे हैं, like one of the panelists said that this government should actually make a law. It should be mandatory, whether it's the man or the woman, whoever's handling the home front, somebody has to handle it. Trust me. And if the man goes to work and the woman goes to work, who's going to handle the home front? It's a real reality. It's a real question. They should be paid. This is labor, this is hard work. You are sacrificing your personal time, your personal life for nurturing so many other people that you have to nurture. It's your social responsibility.
Sure how does the law,
Karuna,
how does the law look at this? That is where the
change will start.
How does the law look at this when there is, for example, a separation of marriage, and if the woman is at home handling it, is there any clarity on this in Indian law? On what her rights are?
There is the Domestic Violence Act. And if there is violence of any kind, including economic deprivation and economic violence, the woman can go to either the protection officer for help or to the local magistrate. And she can apply for a maintenance order, which says that a certain amount of money needs to be given every month for her and any children, if there are any. She can also apply for a residence order, which is that for a portion of the home to be demarcated for her, or obviously if there are multiple homes, then for the home to be demarcated. In the rare case that there are multiple homes. When it comes to divorce, divorce is governed by the law that you are married under, right? And it could be the Hindu Marriage Act, and that is basically, that's the default for most women, because the majority of women in this country are Hindu, and the majority don't elect to be married under the Special Marriage Act, which is the opt-out of religious law, right? So under the Hindu Marriage Act, the Special Marriage Act, and also under Muslim law, under other law, the law is incredibly patriarchal, right? And so when women get divorced, what you take away is a big fight. What you take away tends to be if you look at the judgments, it's kind of shocking, You have situations where the standard in many judgments has been laid down as being 1/3 to 1/5 of what the man has in terms of income, say, and not half, let's be clear. But even that standard is very, very, very frequently not met.
Gitika wants to come in. Yes.
Yeah, Tamanna, if you tell a woman who's in a bad marriage, whether she's from the lower middle class or middle class, upper middle class, and you sit and tell her, okay, there are these laws and you'll get half of what the man has today, and this and that, there is health care, there is education free available for your children. ये सब चीज़ें जो हैं तमन्ना, ये सब हैं, पर क्या ये उसी फॉर्म में पहुंचाई जाती हैं औरतों को? Even a woman who has money and is fighting a divorce case with a very high profile lawyer, nahi hai. So exactly. So until this changes, that really these benefits should reach women, how will women step out of bad situations and how will they rearrange their lives? It's not possible.
Okay,
हम कहते हैं, हम सुनते हैं, हमें पता है, but हो नहीं रहा है ये सब.
My point is that people watching this might be wondering why we're only talking about bad situations. And no, we're not saying that everything's going to end in a bad situation. The point is, even if you're in a good situation, please take care of yourself and build a buffer. We're not saying it's going to become bad. So I want to make that very clear. People watching this might be wondering. Mithali wants to come in. Yeah.
Even if I would like to just add something to this, which is that since you talked about women, maybe young women starting out in life, at least before getting married, lay out what you expect on this front with your potential partner and see that you are on the same page. I had a long list. That
I don't think.
I think as a young woman,
I'm not saying that you can't get funds because the person.
Let Devina finish.
I'd love to hear Devina's list.
Yeah, and did you have this conversation? Devina, you had this conversation.
Yes, I did. I still got conned. It's another matter, but I did. I had a long list of conditions and I said, think carefully. And so I did that. I even read a book on legal rights of Indian women between my engagement and marriage. I said, I must know this before I step into this. So I did all of that.
Fantastic. Devina Mehra, that's why you are such an inspiration. Keep yourself aware. Yes, Gitika.
Tamanna, can I say something? Yeah. There are very few women in our country, like the panelists on this panel, who can actually go out and say these things and do these things and live their lives the way they can. I can challenge you, even in the richest of homes in the country, if where people are getting married, a woman cannot sit and give her list.
I agree,
before the
but
wedding.
that's why
it
we're
just
doing this
doesn't
program.
work like that
I
in our
agree,
country
but,
because of the patriarchy.
But you know something?
And
that is
which
why,
is why I'm saying.
But that is why we're doing this program. Even if 1, 2, 3, 5 people, decide to have an important conversation, decide to educate themselves, decide to change something in their lives, then this program would have been worth it. And that's the idea. Last word to Mithali, Nikore, before I wrap up. Mithali, what would be your list?
So I was sorry, I couldn't hear you, Devina, so I started speaking, but sorry for that. And, Tamanna, I think as a young woman, I can speak on this panel today, not as an activist, but as a young woman. And I think my list was very clear. I said, I want a separate house. I'm not living with any parent, neither my parent nor your parent. And I think that was my first condition when I was getting married. And the second thing was that, when you're talking about earnings, finances, we don't need to merge our finances. We haven't actually merged our finances. They are very separate. And, yes, we pool in finances for running our house, which is again very separate from our parents' house. And, we're now investing in joint assets. But all assets that we invest in are joint and they carry both our names. So at every step of the way, we're not integrating our finances necessarily because we don't need to. As a couple, you're constantly being told by relatives that, you're not taking his last name or you're not, integrating your finances. I'm like, of course not. Why do I need to? So at the end of the day, and also I just want to say one thing on the policy side. We need much more investment in care infrastructure and services. In this country, our overall care infrastructure is currently only delivered by the public sector. There are few government schemes like the Anganwadi scheme, which actually deliver care services to our whole population. and the budget for those schemes is still far lesser than what is invested in transport infrastructure, renewable energy infrastructure, and hard infrastructure services. Why? Social infrastructure, care infrastructure is as important as hard infrastructure for human development. But we're
Absolutely.
not investing, and private sector needs to come forward and invest.
I think at
And
an individual level, families, parents of daughters, women themselves need to have that hard conversation, first perhaps with themselves and then their partner or their partner to be. Financial independence is not an act of defiance, it's an act of self-preservation, it's your right, and it's absolutely crucial. With the hope that everything goes really, really well. Well, we'll have to wrap it at that, but I want to thank all of you for joining us on a really fascinating conversation today. That's all the time we have, but stay tuned. A lot more coming up on the other side.